Welcome to your medical unit huddle for July 15th. I am Ricky, your nurse manager. I immediately want to bombard you with information, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. I'm not saying it's going to be short, but one thing that I am going to be changing, or adding, I should say, to the unit huddle is Carly's updates. Carly, our CNS, each week, I don't know if you guys know this, but each week we are meeting and reviewing all of our RLs. And so she's going to put together some talking points each week, and I'm going to include those into our huddle. But to get on to patient experience, just doing some patient rounding, I have noticed that the whiteboards are not being updated. In fact, I noticed one today that hadn't been updated since Saturday night. So please make sure that you guys are updating the whiteboards when you're going in and doing your bedside report. Our CNAs, when you guys are going in there and getting vitals or whatever, that you guys are at least updating the board so patients know who the heck is taking care of them. And then speaking of bedside report, and I'll get into a couple of things that have come up in the RLs, but you guys have to do bedside report, and that does mean looking at your IVs, not just on the patient, but you're looking at the IV pumps and seeing, has everything been completed or what's running, opening up the patient's chart, looking at orders, and then speaking of orders, looking at doing your chart checks. I don't know if people do that anymore, but making sure that you guys are going back 24 hours into your each patient's chart and making sure that orders have been completed, or if they're not, following up on those as well. So you have that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so I'm going to go into Carly's RL snippets. One is if an ED admission occurs at shift change, the primary RN is, and the primary RN is unavailable, it is the responsibility of the charge RN to receive report. This ensures patients receive safe and timely care on the floor and a smooth transition from the ED. We're both trying to do change of shifts. For example, we had a patient that was coming up, it was like, I don't know, 6:45, and the oncoming charge is saying, well, I don't know, I don't have a nurse assigned to that patient yet. And then yet, at the same time, we're like, well, we don't want to assign it to a nurse who's going to be leaving here pretty soon. The charge nurse really can take that report on that patient. We can at least get them into the bed and get them settled in. Eventually, the charge will have to assign that to a nurse, but we do want to get that patient up here. The nurses and the ED are trying to leave as well, and it just really kind of helps for that more continuity of care. So make sure you guys are doing that. It doesn't happen too often, but just throwing that out there. And then please double check the secondary IV lines to ensure flowing prior to leaving a room. We have had an increase in clamped antibiotics. Again, this is great to catch at bedside report. And then the other piece to that is say, for example, the ones that we have gotten, it's been 6 to 8 hours, sometimes even 12 hours since that antibiotic had been run, and the patient may have missed that dose. You have to let the physician know. A lot of times we're like, oh, we'll just have pharmacy retime it, but the physician needs to know that that medication was missed as well. So you do need to communicate that to them, but you really can catch that, and it helps that person too, who may have hung it and then didn't open the clamp or whatever. And now, as always, make sure that when you are hanging anything, that you guys do check the drip chamber to make sure that it's dripping before you take off, right? Okay, and during bedside report, ensure you are reviewing the active orders as an oncoming RN, just like I mentioned just a little bit ago. There have been missed orders, and this is a safety net to ensure all active orders are being completed in real time, in addition to the 12 and 24-hour chart check and chart maintenance. So again, make sure that you guys are doing that as well. And then there was an issue with teleboxes not being available. We're actively looking at telebox usage and availability to ensure we have a sufficient supply. One RL that I did get was that a patient had tele orders, and they couldn't find a box, but when I reviewed the chart, they actually had continuous pulse ox orders, and that patient had come from, I don't know, one of the PCUs or something, and it was a float nurse that did have this patient. But in the event that you have that happening, you can always recommend to your physician that we do utilize the Visi devices up here, and we can monitor or surveil their oxygen that way too. So Okay, that's what I have for patients and patient experience. Parking changes. The southwest parking lot will be opening in August out by the gazebo area, and then the gravel lot is closing in September. Before you get your panties in a twist, this is not a hospital, something that they've just come up with. This actually has to do with our McWinney's being part of the Centera. Well, anyway, they don't want us to do that anymore. So, anyway, start thinking of other areas that you can be parking, like the employee parking out by the highway, and of course then with that new lot that'll be opening up here, like I said, mid-August. And then there is some required documentation that I'm going to put in the report room. There's an attestation that I need you guys to sign, and we'll be sending that out in email as well. So be looking for that. And then as far as employee announcements, Nicole, welcome to day shift. So she will be orienting with us this week. And then Stacia is a new full-time night shift nurse that will be starting on the 22nd. I think that's all I have. I am going to turn it over to your charge nurse for any current quality patient safety concerns. And as always, I encourage you to subscribe to our MCR Medical Unit YouTube channel. And you guys have a great week.